Darren. Appreciate it. I was looking forward to a hug from Darby, but that'll do. I want to say thank you to the committee for certainly nominating and inducting me. It is a tremendous honor to be considered with the inductees here tonight, and certainly those before us. It's tough following Morgan. Reading about her accomplishments, I thought that was 3 people, not just one. So that's amazing. Also very humbling because I'm the worst athlete in my family. My father was a four-sport letterman at Cairo High, and only 4 sports because that's all they had as varsity sports back in the day at Cairo. My mom was a captain of the cheerleaders and also a star shooting guard for Seminole Baptist Church ladies basketball team. You thought we had forgotten about that, Mom, but we have not. My brothers played football. Scott won a state championship with Godby High School down in Tallahassee, won a college national championship, and also had a tryout with USFL. Stan won his state championship here at Tift County and single-handedly won the game against Benedictine, the toughest game that year. He was a 4-year starter at FSU and played for the Green Bay Packers. Clay, I had the honor of accepting for him a couple of years ago. Also a 4-year starter at FSU, 5 years in NFL, and again, his accolades speak for themselves. I played football and baseball here at Tift County. I wanted to play basketball. My 9th grade year, we scrimmaged the 8th grade team. And Darren Teals took me to school so badly that the next day, Coach Jones put his arm around me and said, "Son, let me show you the wrestling room." That's a true story, true story. It was clear to everybody I was not cut out for basketball at that level. So we went and I watched Coach Clemens work out the wrestlers. And the next day, I watched a wrestling match. And I quickly determined I did not have the courage to get down on the mat one-on-one with another guy with no excuses in an audience. So I will tell you, though, my sons do have that courage. I guess they get that from their beautiful mother. But my son, Mac, who is here tonight, is a 2-time state finalist and a state runner-up, 3 points away from state title. And my middle son, Will, was a state qualifier and finished in the top 10 that year on a torn meniscus through district tournaments and state. My daughter, Sam, is a freshman at Peachtree Ridge High School, and her mother and I have both decided that she won't date until she's graduated from college. She'll have a lot of time to focus on athletics and academics, so she's just beginning to write her story. But I talked about Coach Jones. The thing I remember about Coach Jones is nobody swung a paddle like Coach Jones. Back in the day, if you got in trouble, which I was a class clown, so I was frequently in trouble, you got your choice, 5 licks or 5 days of off-campus suspension. And I knew the problem with suspension is your parents would be notified. And I knew that Jerry wouldn't stop at 5 licks. So I always chose the paddle, but I can tell you that Coach Jones made that a very difficult decision. Right? Coach Bowers, who we heard from, my memory for Coach Bowers is that when I was in 8th and 9th grade, 6 a.m. every morning, he would come by in this beat-up station wagon and pick up me and several others on a route and take us to the junior high gym to work out. Now, I can tell you, Coach Bowers didn't do that because he liked getting up at 5:30 and rounding up a bunch of teenage boys. He did that to show us that it took more than what everybody else was doing. It took more than what was required of you if you wanted to excel at something. That's what these coaches at Tift County High did. Now, My sophomore year, after a JV game where we had lost, Coach Seward took away my varsity jersey. And I asked him, why are you doing this? And he said, you didn't take that game seriously enough. So how can I get it back? He said, I'll let you know. Well, in the spring during baseball season was also spring football practice. And after spring football practice, we had our spring boxing matches. For those of you that don't know, don't remember, back in the day, Coach Reynolds would draw up a square out in the ROTC marching lot, gravel, clay lot. And you were paired up with a varsity football player of roughly your same size, and you'd, in a helmet, shorts, cleats, and boxing gloves, you'd have 3 rounds. This was early UFC. And not only that, you'd have a crowd. And I don't mean just the other varsity football players, I mean the entire student body turned out to watch these matches. Well, that year, I had an easy time of it. My opponent quit pretty early, and I was relieved, right? My match was over. I was coasting now. And then one day, that week, Coach Mac Williams walked through the weight room to announce the slate of opponents. And he paused at the very end and said, Todd Shiver, you have matched up with Horace Brinkley, and he's going to whip your ass. Now, I don't think Horace is here tonight. Is anybody related to Horace here tonight? All right, well, Horace was a defensive tackle. Outweighed me by 100 pounds. And he was a little bit psychotic. Nice fellow, but he was a little bit psychotic. So, as the match goes, I am scratched up from shoulder to shoulder from my helmet getting snapped that way. And my knees and elbows were bloody from hitting the ground so many times and getting back up. And those 3 minutes felt like 3 hours. Afterwards, I laid in the shower for as long as I could until baseball practice would start. And so I got dressed and headed over to the baseball field where Coach Seward said, all right, you got your varsity jersey back. And I said, why? He said, because you didn't quit. And again, those were the things that those coaches taught us. Life is not easy. We needed lessons like that. My senior year, I had several records. The ones that I recall, I know I had the record for most wins. I'm sure that's bypassed. Nick probably blew out all those records. I had 132 strikeouts, something like that, in about 96 innings. The record that I set and still hold today, I have no doubt, is in 96 innings, I walked 98 batters. I had no clue where it was going. My junior year, Phil Salter was my catcher. My senior year, my brother was my catcher, and they were more like hockey goalies than they were catchers. Had no clue. I was telling Hayden the other night, if we had had a mascot, I'd have hit it several times. Most of those strikeouts were because the batters were trying to defend themselves, right? But I remember my senior year, we went down to play Valdosta in a playoff game, and they lined up 10 bat girls outside the dugout that just chirped at me the entire game, right? And they knew how to get in my head. So I melted down. We were losing. We were in danger of missing the playoffs, and luckily Rusty Sowell came in relief. Through 3 shutout innings, we scored enough runs, and we got to the next round. But Coach Beal did a great job of getting in my head, calming me down, helping me keep my temper, my focus on the mound. I can tell you that after my senior year, I was recruited by several small colleges, Mercer, ABAC, and so I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And I got a letter and a call from a Cincinnati Red Scout, the Cincinnati Red Scout. He was the highest ranking Cincinnati Scout in the U.S. I'm thinking finally somebody recognized the immense talent down here in Tifton and going to come check it out, right? So I go out to this individual tryout with the man from Cincinnati Reds and did well. Actually found it a couple times and did pretty well. Radar gun, registered low 90s, you know. So after it was Cam Bonifay, Cam asked me, listen, we would consider drafting you if you would sign. I said, no, I want to go to college. He said, you're sure about that? I said, yeah, I definitely want to go to college. He said, okay. What I didn't know then, but I do know now, is that Cam Bonifay was from Macon. Cam Bonifay played high school ball for Gene Brody and Roy McWilliams. They didn't come down to Tift County just to see the immense talent that was me. They came on a personal favor from these guys to come and give me an opportunity. Later that week, I got a scholarship offer from Georgia Tech. Turns out Cam Bonifay is a Hall of Famer and a 4-year starter at Georgia Tech. And so I make my way up to Georgia Tech and meet Coach Morris for the first time. And we signed the papers there. And he said, can I ask you a favor? I said, absolutely, Coach. What do you need? He said, would you tell Mr. Durrett in Tifton to stop writing me letters? So there was a Tech alumni that lived here in Tifton that had been sending him a letter a week for a year with my stats, my newspaper clippings, and letters asking him to look for me. I'd never met Mr. Durrett, right? But that's the kind of place Tift County is. Had a great career at Georgia Tech, but I can tell you the thing that really helped me focus, get me there, is I had a Hall of Fame roommate. Robert Massey from here in Tifton was my roommate. Great guy. 6'5", 220-pound tight end, started Tift area, started here at Tift County. Ran about a 4'6", you know, a 6'5", 220-pound guy that can run a 4'6" and still not outrun his wife was pretty amazing. But again, if not for the coaches that I had, Herbie Benson, Coach Brewster, Coach Tucker at the Mavericks, proud to know Coach Sperlin, Coach Vickers, my high school coaches, Gene Brody, Roy McWilliams, Tommy Seward, Emmett Bowers, John Reynolds, Mayo Tucker, Tommy Seward, a baseball coach, who very quietly not only talked to me and showed me how to be a man, but showed me how to be a man in actions. And Chuck Beal, who was my pitching coach, who calmed me down, helped me understand the more mental part of the game. But probably one of the coaches that had the biggest impact was my secondary coach, Andy Summers, who tragically died my senior year. Hardest coach I ever played for. But I can tell you, he prepared me for the things that life was going to have in store. I'm honored to be inducted to the Tift County Hall of Fame, but I am more proud to be a product of this community.